Talk about it all here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Talk about it all here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button.
You know, one thing about Jayden that I've tried to talk to him about is tightening his chin strap. Because he doesn't tighten it, so every time he gets hit, it looks like his helmet's all messed up. And it's like, oh, God, he just got rocked.
For the win! Caught! It's gone! LSU does it!
After fucking Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, boys. Are you kidding me?
Well, LSU fan came and stuck his spike in my booty.
That motherfucker!
Fan brought his 2 grandkids by and literally was just 30 seconds. Just wanted to say thank you for the team and the season and what you did and how much it means to everybody here is truly what makes LSU special.
Yeah. Coach Kelly, we're official.
Finally,
I'm
get a
telling
chance to meet you.
Thought I had to get a private audience with the Pope. There's Jordy.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification. We about to go live. We got all your favorite guests. We got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show.
And
Come have a good time.
Tearing up, answering the question. I thought, my God, if Chica is offered this job, she's going to take it.
It's just a crazy, fun time at LSU right now. Isn't this what everybody loves?
From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, open up the phone lines. Come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show. Yeah.
Let's go! Let's go! All right. Big start. Big day. Nice start.
It's the Jordy Culotta Show. Come have a good time.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time.
All right, welcome in and good morning here on the Jordy Culotta Show. It's a good morning for some, not for others. Lloyd's really pushing through here.
I've been working too hard.
He's been working his tail off. He had his body purged a little bit earlier.
I knocked over a water just now.
Just knocked over a water.
But not on anything important, just the ground.
It's all right.
Welcome in!
We're rocking through this morning. Shout out to Brian Burgess in the chat. We're going to go ahead and get started here with some words of encouragement. Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I pray you are all having an awesome and blessed morning so far. Choose to illuminate the world around you with a smile and radiate joy, spread happiness, love with abandon, show kindness, help others, and most importantly, be your best self. Amen.
I use
Amen,
that every
Brian.
morning. That's
Amen.
how it'd be like a class prayer.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. But every day we are inspired.
And then the Canadians will boo us.
100%. Then they'll try to fight us.
Yes.
We are inspired by Brian Burgess, and we are brought to you by RMB Builders, Rhett Bourgeois and his crew. They do great work. I've seen it firsthand. Watching them work, I've seen the aftermath of everything that they've done and how great it is. Rhett and his crew do excellent work, and Rhett is really close to the work. Like, he's not just one of those guys that's going to sit back and watch everybody do whatever. He's there with the client. So if you need anything done, hit up Rhett and his crew, R&B Builders on Instagram and their website. The phone line will be used today. John Brady will join us at 8 a.m. to talk about LSU basketball after the announcement yesterday that they're going to be sticking with head coach Matt McMahon and backing him with a little bit more NIL funds and support. So we'll have Coach Brady on. And the phone line is brought to you by Southern Regional Medical Center, Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, and the crew. And then, of course, every day we're brought to you by Gordon McKernan Injury Lawyers. Christian, put the hat on. You have to do it. Every single day we're part of the G Squad, the G Team. GetGordon.com.
Get it done.
888-8888, Louisiana's big truck lawyer and the NIL king. You know, as we're talking about Matt McMahon's NIL backing, Gordon McKernan is the NIL king here in Louisiana, not just for LSU, but all the state universities. A lot happened yesterday, surprisingly enough. I wasn't sure what the show was going to be based on after we discussed everything that happened over the weekend yesterday, kind of covered all the bases, and then LSU goes out and announces that Matt McMahon will be sticking around for another year, which wasn't a surprise. We were talking about it yesterday, and we thought that McMahon would get the nod and stick around. They weren't going to move on him yet, but they also doubled down on it and saying that they're going to pick up the NIL funding, and they're going to push and support Matt McMahon more than they have so far. And a great report by Shay Dixon, our friend, over at On3. But, and you know, to me, there's a direct correlation between money spent and wins in the league. Who are the two worst teams in the SEC, Lloyd?
LSU's one of them in South Carolina.
And who are the two lowest spenders? I'll let you guess.
LSU in South Carolina.
Well, I mean, there's a direct correlation. And you know who spends the most money on their roster?
Probably Auburn.
Oh, and who is the number one team in the country?
Probably Auburn.
So, I mean, there's a direct line between monetary and financial sport and winning in the SEC and winning in basketball, the sport in general. You know, like in football, yes, the money is important. And obviously you saw the roster that had the most money spent on it win the national championship. It's just college athletics as a whole now, really. So for Matt McMahon to get fired without ever truly getting the financial backing, you know, how attractive is that job for somebody else?
And not only that, but now the cat's out the bag that you're not spending money on it. Like if you were to try to bring in a new coach and get rid of, or I guess fire McMahon, be like, well, what's the reasoning for me to come in here? Because now I know you aren't spending money. It's not like the thing that you can lie about. And so it's just easier, I think, to, like you've said, like throughout this entire thing when it became a topic, it's like, do you want to shell out $8 million for a buyout? Or do you think McMahon is good enough of a coach that if you give him $8 million on a roster, maybe you can be competitive?
Right. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, that's what we've said this whole time, that if you were going to raise that $8 million and then the millions on top of that the next steps were going to take. I mean, remember, breaking it down, $8 million is just to fire McMahon. Then you have to buy out somebody from their job, which is going to be, you know, a pretty penny if you're trying to be in the realm in which LSU is trying to be in. And then after that, you have to sign them to a new contract. So then there will be, you know, more money on top of that $8 million. So that $8 million turns into $12 million, which turns into $16, $17 million. That's a whole lot of money to spend on firing and hiring a basketball coach when obviously basketball's not the biggest worry of the athletic department. I mean, the fact that they're not spending this money. So instead of $17 million, which is just an estimate, a random number, instead of $17 million, when it comes to building the roster, Auburn spent $8 million. Well, you can raise that $8 million and not have to go over it by just paying for a roster. I mean, because that's what it takes to win, And so I see Spectrum in the chat saying that's on Woodward and the stupid contract, and that this is Woodward just trying to not accept that he made a mistake. I mean, Woodward didn't really have many options. As much as this was Woodward's hire, and at the time, Matt McMahon was the hottest name in the sport. I think they were 30-2 something. They just won a tournament game with John Morant. Murray State was one of the best smaller programs in the country.
31-3 and 18-0 in conference play, and number 7 seed in NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, like that's hard to deny. There were two names that were hot at that point, and it was Golden at Florida and Matt McMahon now at LSU. Those were the two hot names, and it really felt like you couldn't go wrong either way. Well, the difference between LSU and Florida now, and why Florida's number 2 in the country and LSU's unranked, isn't really the coach. More than anything that's proven is Florida has financial backing because they want to be a power in basketball, And so this was the next step before fire McMahon was, hey, if you want to get rid of him, you have to make sure you exhaust all options on how you screwed it up before you just say, okay, the coach was wrong.
Right, and you're starting to see, like, the more research that you're getting from Shea Dixon and the Bengal Tiger is Oklahoma's basketball NIL between $2 and $3 million, the third worst team in the conference. So the more you look through this, Ole Miss, Mississippi State both had an NIL budget north of $5 million this past offseason. The Rebels and Bulldogs have both been top 25 teams this year after going 0-18 in SEC play a year ago. Missouri put a focus on upping the program's NIL budget this past offseason, and Missouri is a game shy of 20 wins, and they're 8-4 in SEC play. Like, this is the way that it works now.
Yep.
Basketball is the easiest way, or NIL is the easiest way for basketball to get good because you could essentially buy players that are good enough to help you win. And with David Patrick being on staff now and your ability to recruit, it'll be back-to-back years with three top 100 players for McMahon. So those are all things that, like, you can get better through recruiting, but I think you're starting to see that NIL is like you have to get legitimate players that are good and put them and sprinkle them in your roster.
Yeah, this roster, when you went in the portal, when you had a pretty good portal class, you got Cam Carter, who was the only Power 4 player to transfer into LSU, and you've seen a direct correlation from that to success at LSU. Outside of that, you got guys that weren't in the Power 4 conference, and they just haven't had the same success at LSU. So, Andrew Messina, if LSU hoops sucks next year, what will the defense be to keep McMahon? There won't be. That's the situation now, is that you are exhausting all options before making that move. That is your last, the fans' mindset a lot of times, and I get it because we all get there, is the second it's not going well, okay, clean slate, get rid of them, let's do this something else. And then now for the people in management and administration, you have to exhaust all options before you get to that point because of the contract. So like even in football, when you're talking about Brian Kelly, there were things that had to be solved before you got to the point of, okay, fire Brian Kelly. Like the defensive staff, it was easy to put blame on them, right? So that slate gets cleaned. Well, now over this point, and then it was the players. They need to spend money in the transfer portal. Now that's happened, Kelly doesn't have as many excuses. So now you're at the point with McMahon where he's got a solid staff, which he's had since the start. Now he's getting the financial backing. If he doesn't make it work with that, what's next? And so that to me, Andrew, is just kind of the way it works. Where if you exhaust all options, then when you get to where push comes to shove, the conversation will be different. But right now, if they went to McMahon and said, we think it's time to move on, he said, well, y'all never did this for me. How did you expect me to be successful? Now if he gets the financial backing when they come to him next year, he can say he doesn't have that out. Right. She'll be like, we gave you the money. We pushed for the roster to get better. You have a staff. You didn't get the job done. It's time for us to move on. Now there's no way to get out of it.
And and it feels a little bit as if it's a last-ditch effort, or at least that's what it looks like on paper, but I think this is just the way it's going to be moving forward. I know it feels like with Brian Kelly and the way that his contract is played out and his years at LSU have played out to where it's like, okay, this is the last. It's almost like you're putting your chips all in. But I think what's happening is you're starting to see LSU realize what NIL is and the way to do it and how to kind of pursue in the transfer portal, as opposed to, here, we have to give you money if that's what it takes. It's just like, no, it's just a reinvestment into your programs.
Right.
And it's the same thing for LSU basketball. They're coming to terms with it that, hey,
you have to do this.
You look around, you go, well, what happens if you fire McMahon and you have like you said, $10 million that you have to probably at the end of the day you use to get a whole new staff. You just brought in a new staff.
Right.
And it's just, I think that it's easier to say, we're going to spend this money anyway, and now you're starting to allocate some of these funds to LSU basketball and start to get that, like, this is just the way that LSU athletics is going to operate from here on out.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's, at the same time, if McMahon does get moved on and gets fired, nobody's going to take this job if you're not willing to spend money. Like that's the way it works. That's, like Lloyd said, that's college basketball. It's college sports as a whole. So if you want to move from McMahon and you want to hire somebody else that's going to be a bigger name or bigger hire and make something happen, LSU has to be prepared to spend money on the roster, because nobody's going to take the job if you're not bought in to NIL and making this roster happen. You know? And that's the way of the sport. So even if the plan is, like Lloyd said, this isn't just a last-ditch effort on McMahon. This is LSU accepting that this is the way the sport works. If you want to be successful in the sport, it has to happen. And if whether it's McMahon or it's some other coach out in the world, you have to be willing to spend money to be successful. And so if you're not willing to spend the money, that's where the conversation will kind of stop with the coach. They'll start the interview. They'll say, "Okay, coach, we're interested in hiring you for our new position, and we like the work you did at blah 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 university, and we think you'd be a great fit here. What do you think? What are your thoughts?" And any coach that has any sort of moving power, which is kind of where LSU wants to be living, where you hire a bigger name coach, he'd be like, "Well, what's the NIL situation? How do y'all go about raising money for the roster and spending this and that? And like, where does it?" That's what the whole conversation will be about. More than anything else in the conversation, in the interview, will be how does NIL work? Where's the money come from? How do we use it? How do we make sure it works? All these different things. LSU has to have a method for success. And so that's where it starts right now with McMahon, is saying, okay, we're gonna make this work financially and through NIL. We're gonna fund the roster. We're gonna fund success. So if it works with McMahon, great. If it doesn't, you move on from McMahon, and now you have a method that you at least have somebody that can raise the money. You have a way to fund the roster. Go get a guy, make the job more attractive.
Yeah, because you also want to be able to, like we've talked about retention on this thing, like about this program, and this is where that probably a lot of that money is going to go, is retention for the roster of the guys that you already have on the team, and then, like I said, then you'll be able to find more talent, I guess, in the transfer portal at some point. But there also is, you could give McMahon and NIL and LSU basketball more money, but you're not going to be able to change who he is. Like, the personality is still a part of, I think, that turns people off, because LSU basketball needs it feels like it needs like a guy that's going to give it a shot in the arm. And McMahon is very much more of a professional. He's kind of, I don't want to say laid back, but he's not like a very intense and in your face when it comes to like the demand on the program and what he expects from the fan base. Like, Kim Mulkey is demanding you stay at the game, demanding you buy tickets. He doesn't do very much of that. Right. And so it becomes like out of sight, out of mind a little bit. And then when you're not winning, it becomes, okay,
it's very easy,
to move on.
Yep, 100%. 100%. If you're confused looking at the stream this morning because you see two different streams, we are live on both the NOF Network YouTube channel and the Jordy Culotta Show YouTube channel. This is just kind of a formality, as we've sat down and talked with Nick. And we are growing and expanding the partnership between the Jordy Culotta Show and New Orleans Football. And so we will be making a transition back to the Culotta Show channel live there every morning, 7 to 9. And then the additional content that comes from the show will arrive and show up on the NOF Network channel. And so when March comes around, for the rest of this month, we will be live on both channels. When March comes around, be prepared to find the show at 7 a.m. on the Jordy Culotta Show YouTube channel. So even if you want to switch over now, however you want to do it, be prepared in March. When March begins,
it will only be streaming to the Culotta Show channel.
It will only be streamed to the Jordy Culotta Show YouTube channel. So you can stay subscribed here, but I'll also make sure you subscribe and hit the bell over on the Culotta Show channel, because that's where the show will originate starting in March. So we've got about 2 weeks left of February where it will live on both channels. Once March gets here, everything will live over there from 7 to 9. So just kind of some housekeeping, making sure everyone understands where the show will live. We appreciate you guys being with us on both channels. You know, we have people in both chats trying our best to keep up with it, make sure we're talking to all of you. But we appreciate you guys, and just make sure y'all understand how things will go starting in March. But also, you know, just to kind of get back on a positive topic, when we talk about LSU basketball, that segment is usually brought to you by Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. I'm wearing the hoodie this morning because we're going to have Coach John Brady on to talk more about LSU basketball this morning at 8 a.m. And so I figured Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works, 776-2431?
3-1.
Nailed it. 225-776-2431. That's the number. No website, no social media. I'm rocking the hoodie because we were talking about some LSU basketball. But to get off of a crappy topic and get to some good stuff.
I do think that there's an interesting conversation that Brian Burgess brings up, which is, what do you like? I guess it's an overarching theme of what do you think of Woodward, like Scott Woodward as LSU's athletic director. I am of the opinion that he's done a fantastic job so far. I know people want to can him, or like they talk crazy about him.
Right.
Like you can look at the Brian Kelly hire at the time. Like that's probably the one that's going to get judged the most, because it's the biggest sport that you have. It is what LSU kind of like athletics is built upon, is LSU football. Like right, wrong, or indifferent, that'll probably determine Scott Woodward's legacy at LSU. But think about what was going on before he got here. Like that.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Oliva is like, do we really have this conversation? Yeah. Look at, he's brought in Kim Mulkey, Jay Johnson. Say what you want about Brian Kelly, but it's at least LSU's relevant in football. And like you're seeing it being built, and then that's one national championship, 2 national championships. Oh, he's the athletic director when he won a national championship for gymnastics. He's had 3 national championships since he's been here. It's hard to think that correlates to failure.
Yep. No, I mean, Woodward has been a success. Yes, it's easy to look at Brian Kelly and Matt McMahon and just kind of be infatuated with the lack of wins in men's basketball and championships in football, I guess. When it comes to hires, he's done. He's overachieved. I mean, when you thought about LSU women's basketball and where it was prior to Woodward making the Kim Mulkey hire, you're talking about reviving a sport at this school. Like, LSU women's basketball wasn't even talked about or thought about. And Scott goes and hires Kim Mulkey, who is a pillar of the sport at Baylor and one of the greatest of all time. And he goes and makes that hire. You win a national championship in 2 seasons. And then you think about baseball. Baseball hadn't won since 2009. Like, yes, LSU is the dominant name in the sport, but they hadn't won a national championship since 2009. And Woodward gets here, and it's time to move away from Minari and that time period of LSU baseball. He goes out and he makes the hire on Jay Johnson, who, first of all, was a guy that nobody was talking about. When the LSU job was open, it was Tony Vitello, it was Mike Bianco, it was Cliff Godwin. Pat Casey's name came up. Like, nobody was talking about Jay Johnson. Scott Woodward goes out and makes that hire, home run, nails it. a national championship 2 seasons later.
I don't think people really knew who Jay Johnson was.
Right, at all. But Scott Woodward did. And who's complaining about that now? I mean, you win a national championship 2 years after the hire, and you look 4 years after the hire, your LSU baseball is where it is now. And then you think about Brian Kelly, LSU football was a dumpster fire when Kelly came in. Kelly was the right hire at the time, and he still could pan out to be an excellent hire in the long run. But you needed somebody that could right this ship. And Kelly did that as good as he could have. In year 1, he was able to build a roster and put together a team that got into the SEC championship. After back-to-back seasons of 5-5 and 6-7. You know, like mediocrity, which for LSU is complete failure. You were barely bowl eligible the season before Kelly got
Territory
here.
you haven't been in since the 90s.
Right. And then Kelly gets here and you make the SEC championship in year 1. You have back-to-back 10-win seasons. You have a Heisman winning quarterback. You've won every bowl game you've played in. Yes, has he made mistakes and bad hires? 100%. But he rebuilt the program, at least put you in a place to be successful somewhat and competitive 100%. And then on Matt McMahon, at that time, it was the right hire. He had to move off of Wade because of all the situations. He went out. He made a good hire. Matt McMahon had to take over an unprecedented job, and he was put in an unprecedented position, and he's still trying to find success. And now Woodward is giving him the tools to do that. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But the reason that Woodward had to pay McMahon the money he did and Kelly the money they did, which to me I think is the biggest knock on Woodward from the fan base, is that you can't fire Kelly and you can't fire McMahon because of their contract. You had to give them something to make the job attractive. I mean, Brian Kelly was walking into a job with 39 scholarship players who have just spent back-to-back seasons of 5-5 and 6-7 and had to go compete against Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, year in, year out. How is the job going to be attractive? We're going to give you $10 million a year.
Well, not only the job is what the job is. Like LSU football is attractive.
100%.
People would want it, but it's to get. You also had to get
him away from Notre Dame.
Exactly.
You know, and
if you thought he was the guy,
you had to make the job attractive enough to leave there.
To get his attention, because he's
Right.
like, I'm pretty good over here at Notre Dame.
Yeah, he's chilling.
Yeah.
He's winning every year.
Yeah. And Notre Dame is a prestigious school, and it's a prestigious, that has football history. So to pull him away, you had to see, look, this is guaranteed money.
Right.
We need you to come help clean up the program, and if you get it right, you'll win a national championship.
100%. And then you look at McMahon, was getting drawn to a job where, we talked about the Saints coaching position. We said a lot of things about how guys like Joe Brady and Cliff Kingsbury could just chill with their OC job and wait for next cycle to get a bigger job. Matt McMahon could have done the same thing. He was the hottest name at Murray State. He could have run it back there, not took the LSU job, and been up for whatever job opened up the next season. When Musselman went to USC, if McMahon is still at Murray State, I guarantee you his name comes up for the Arkansas job. Because it was the hottest name in the sport. You had to find a way to make staying at Murray State and waiting for the next cycle less attractive than coming to LSU. And so you gave him the contract you gave him. So when it comes to Woodward, he has done such an excellent job at LSU. You talk about Jay Clark with gymnastics. A national championship? LSU gymnastics wins a national championship last season, and then you look at Friday night. To me, you're going up against a perennial power in Oklahoma in the PMAC and a packed house. And you get, not only is it entertaining and exciting, you win. You are now the number one program. all in all, Scott Woodward in totality has been an outstanding success at LSU. And there genuinely should be absolutely zero conversation on him not being that. Because when you look at Clark, you look at Mulkey, you look at Johnson, just those three. National championship, national championship, national championship. And when it comes to Mulkey, to me, that's the headliner, because there was no pulse in that sport, in that program. And now you can't go a day without talking about it. Now they're on national TV every single weekend because of a move that Scott Woodward made. He went and got a pillar of the sport, brought them home to LSU, and rejuvenated the program. So we appreciate you guys. We're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant in New Orleans. Katie's in Mid-City. They've got all the games on, cold beer, great service. Make sure anytime you're going through New Orleans, you go hit Katie's up, get some grub, enjoy the games, and enjoy the service. We'll be right back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show after this.
In Baton Rouge to all sports fans was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Well, the Oscar Andrews Sports Medicine Institute collaborative effort was an idea from Dr. Andrews and myself to bring together two great names, the Andrews name and the Ochsner name, to elevate the quality of care for athletes in the state of Louisiana, where he's from.
I always thought I would come back to Louisiana and practice orthopedics with my subspecialty being sports medicine. This was an opportunity through Ochsner's to come back and work the entire state to help develop and take sports medicine to a new level.
As an orthopedic surgeon, what this means in the future in terms of, access for our community to the type of care that Dr. Andrews pioneered, words can't describe how valuable that is.
Ochsner has a great opportunity here to really grow, and Dr. Burnham, of course, is the mainstay of making that happen. If you want to have first-class sports medicine care, check in with Dr. Burnham and his group, and you'll be more than impressed and pleased.
Fourier Insurance Agency, established in 1946, helping you with your home, auto, commercial, life and health insurance needs. Around in Baton Rouge at 4275 Government Street and online at FourierAgency.com. Whatever insurance you're in the market for, home, auto, commercial, contractors, life and health, get in touch with Fourier Insurance Agency, FourierAgency.com, or give them a call at 225-383-0682. Fourier Agency.
Get Gordon. And get it done. Yeah, everybody know Gordon in a 225. He done leave with Big 4. He got buku ties, Ferrari sliding, flying in a new coupe ride. And every time I ride by, I see a brand new sign. I'm with Gordon, I know that he gon' get it done. Whether it's a big truck crash or a hit and run, recovery funds, he fighting to get a ton. Mike Epps, man, we all about the Benjamin. Handling injuries, man, are you kidding me? Gordon McKernan, that's champion energy. Yeah, family man with a family plan. Get Gordon, he gon' fix it like a handyman. Get Gordon, and get it done.
Welcome to Trifecta.
Trifecta Sports Therapy in Baton Rouge. Recover, repair, restore. At Trifecta, they believe in total body wellness. Trifecta gets the body back to its full potential. Whether you're a youth or pro athlete, a pre or postnatal mom, or if you lead an active lifestyle or a senior citizen, Trifecta has the class, the sports massage, the sports therapist, the stretch therapist, or the equipment like infrared sauna, cold plunges, and golf simulators to find your best. Find Trifecta online at trifectasportstherapy.com or check out the beautiful facility today, 8221 Goodwood. Trifecta Sports Therapy.
Hey, Tiger fans, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit us, Tom and Wright Granning, at Go Mart on the Go Deli.
Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip.
Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on your left.
Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff,
where everyone is family.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
But we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose. I grind hard and I can't lose. I'm stacking days, man, I can't lose. Big step, but we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose. I grind hard, man, I can't lose. I'm stacking days, man, I can't lose. Business is business. Yeah, I grind for the check. Line up with me, you gon' see how different when I step up on the opponent's necks. Line up with me, you gon' see how different how I'm earning all of my respect. Line up with me, you gon' see how different how I run the game, but don't stretch. My hitters stay with me, give them nothing, we putting up 60. We got power, you better call 50. Better chill like I reached like Wimby. It's not rocket science, shit you gotta know. We put them down like some dominoes. Wake up early, put the time in. Now I'm watching a Culotta show. Tryna send help when I come around, dog, it ain't working. Tryna just play, tryna stop me, dog, it ain't working. I handle business while you lanes chirping. Who on my level, man? I'm still searching.
All right.
I'm in their hands like a
We're back. Welcome back
I'm everywhere
in
like I'm
here.
Harold Perkins. Let's step, but we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose.
Yeah, we have to slide Christian over from here to behind the desk. We're getting back to it. There he is. Getting back to it this morning. Some interesting news in the press conference with Matt McMahon yesterday. He brought up Trey'Dez Green. Because you didn't really see him. And the reason why is because he is taking some time to focus on academics. The three of them met. McMahon, Kelly, Green all met, discussed the situation. A lot on Trey'Dez's plate. He's stepping away from the basketball program for now to focus on his academics. They said they brought up him coming back at a later date, things like that. But I mean, he's in such a almost impossible situation. We've seen countless dual sport athletes at LSU, whether it's football and track. Like Jelani Watkins right now is a wide receiver on the football team, and he's sprinting his heart out on the track team, looking like a monster. And then we've seen football and baseball. I mean, Chad Jones, Jared Mitchell, guys like that. Never really seen football and basketball. We've heard stories about the Marcus Spears and the Michael Claytons and people. Corey Webster. Like, did they give it a chance? What happened? They ended up falling on football. Trey'Dez Green right now has played both, and if he wants to play both, the option's there. But it's still a lot for one to kind of handle. Whether it's one having to get back in basketball shape while still trying to be in football shape, because he's still working out, doing the offseason weight program with the football team, but then he's going and running and doing all these things with basketball where it's not very easy to balance both. Then he's got to balance school on top of that. So it's a tough situation. for Trey'Dez Green. Obviously, the academic workload is pretty heavy for him to be stepping away from basketball to focus on it, because basketball is his first love. Like I saw Trey'Dez play in high school. Basketball was what I saw him play before football. He was a basketball player originally before he became this monster on the football field, and he wants to play basketball. And we'll talk to Coach Brady kind of about Trey'Dez and that situation, and really any experiences Brady had with those early years of the guys from football thinking they wanted to be dual sport athletes and play both, and just kind of see what the deal is there. But all in all, I mean, it's a lot for Trey'Dez to kind of balance around, and we'll see if he's able to get back to the basketball team, because Matt said it. Here's the quote. Just after visiting with Coach Brian Kelly and Trey'Dez, the academic workload is very heavy. He's going to be focusing on those academics for the time being and rejoin us at a later date. And he went on to talk about Trey'Dez and how he, one, had to learn all the terminology, everything, all the coverages, all these different things with basketball just kind of in the middle of the season before he got there. And Goro says it in the Culotta Show chat. He says, football and basketball is the hardest of all dual sports. I did it at the D1 level and was really good, but I never became great because, time sticking to both will hamper with development. That's very true. I mean, having to develop in two different sports is so very difficult. And, I would be surprised if the focus doesn't ultimately shift to football. Obviously, he loves basketball. I think that's the reason why he's playing both. But it's tough to do both. And at a school like LSU, it's tough for when you land on one, it to not be football. So I don't think that's the current situation, but I think that conversation will be had as time continues to go on. Right now, I genuinely do think that is the academic workload and just kind of balancing all the levels.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with academics. It's perfect time for him to get out of basketball, get into football. Like Brian Kelly this is like a master class on how to do this, because you don't want him to miss any time. And like if he continued to be on the basketball team, he would miss time in the spring. And you have a guy that is probably going to be considered a first-round pick if everything goes the way it should in football. And basketball is in the dump right now. It's like, brother, what are you doing? Get out of there, and come focus on football.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see Trey'Dez back on the
When's
court.
the last time we've had an academic issue in
agree.
sports
I agree.
in the last 5 years?
But I wouldn't be surprised if you see Trey'Dez back in the basketball uniform.
Bet he doesn't play next year basketball.
I'm not saying anything about next year, but I'm saying this season, because right now he's not with the team.
Yeah, he's not going back.
I'm saying this season I wouldn't be surprised if he's back. This is a guy who loves basketball.
He does,
and wants to play it to the point where he's doing both.
Yeah, but I think he's also realizing this is a lot harder than it was in high school.
100%.
And you have coaches that probably are pulling you a little bit more than you thought you would be. Like, it would be different if LSU had, 10 wins in the conference and he was giving you 20 minutes a game. You're like, oh, shit, he's a stud. He's giving you 6 minutes off the bench and you're losing every game you play.
No, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think just from his standpoint, it's still very difficult to pack it up and give up on something that's been your dream. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's still back in the uniform this season. And I agree that he's going to be football only. And I'm not saying that this is, I think the academics argument is still, what have you. But I do think that there is
It's a nice thing to throw in there now. And I see
there's a time
John
that
Quave with the John Emery. That was a fucking joke. Like, the John Emery situation was ridiculous. And it's the last time you heard about it. And that was 2022?
Right.
2021? 2022.
22.
Yeah. It's like, so that was 3 years ago was the last time you had, and it's been one person.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there haven't been issues, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if you see him back in a uniform. Not because I think that LSU basketball needs him or that he's going to come back because this is, he's going to play next year. Because I think ultimately he's going to be a football-only guy. Just from the argument of when you're 6'7", 240 on a football field, everyone's looking at you and you stand out. If you're 6'7", 240 on a basketball court, there's four other guys that are the same size or bigger on the court at the same time.
Yeah,
so,
he's like in football.
And football's the moneymaker.
Oh, in football, he's Victor Wembanyama.
Right.
Like at the position of like, you're a freak show. How can you run this fast, like jump like that and move like that? And you have a guy that's a 5'10" corner covering you. Like it's a genetic mismatch. Basketball,
100%.
You're almost small.
Yeah, you're everybody else.
Yeah.
We talked to one of our guys on the Central team. He's 6'4", 6'5"-ish right now. And so he's able to dominate against some of these teams because he's a post player. And the situation is when you get to college, well, you're 6'5" as a guard, buddy. And so that's the situation. But Carl, I get it. Y'all can tell me whatever you want to tell me. I'm just saying, on both sides of the argument, there could still be a chance that this kid, right, makes a decision for himself and wants to be back in a basketball uniform at some point. Now, I'm not saying he plays. I'm not saying he's back next season. But it's still ultimately his decision. As much as, Brian Kelly's not going to give him an ultimatum and say quit or you're off the football team because he needs him that bad. So if Trey'Dez truly wants to be a part of the team, be a part of the team. Carl Dunn, why come back? Got 4 games left. Because it's a kid making the decision. It's a young man that's dreamed about playing basketball for his home state. It's not coming back because of success. It's coming back because you wanted to be a part of this team. That's why he's there. And I agree with John Quav that basketball will slow down the building process 100%. He's going to be football only probably next season. But he has a desire to play basketball. And so I'm not going to just hop on the train and think that it's just completely over for this year. I think this season is the only season, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in that basketball uniform at some point. Because that's just, that. And we're going to talk to Coach Brady about it to get his opinion because he's obviously been in the position of being a basketball coach, dealing with football coaches and kind of those situations. And he would have a much better understanding than us. And we'll talk to him about the rest of the deal. But, just to me, I think it's worth looking at from both angles and not just accepting that it's over at this point. Because I understand everything that y'all are saying, but he obviously has a desire to play basketball. If he didn't, he would have never ended up on the roster. That's just kind of how it works. That's the situation.
Yeah, I think they try to do what was best for everybody involved. Like,
right.
If you're football, you can kind of treat it the way that you could have treated it the way that Nick Saban did and John Brady did, where he was like, look,
they're not playing basketball.
You can check, and almost like don't let them play basketball. And because he did it with Corey Webster, Marcus Spears, like there's a litany of guys that Michael Clayton,
right,
that wanted to do both, and it just became like this an enviable task of trying to do both. You have to placate to Trey'Dez Green for both and Matt McMahon because, like, let's see if it works.
Right.
If it's easy and Trey'Dez is happy, first of all, that's the most important thing. Is like you keep him on campus.
Yes.
Because you don't want the conversation of I'm leaving because they wouldn't let me try to play basketball.
100%.
So that you keep him out the transfer portal by saying, hey, buddy, go for it.
Right.
And now you see that McMahon just gets the opportunity to coach him. You see if it works. If it doesn't, which it feels like this isn't a failure on Trey'Dez Green's part. It's like at this juncture, it's not worth it.
Right.
Exceptionally where you are in your career for football. You only played it for 2 years in high school. You have 1 year under your belt in college.
Right.
And we've moved your position twice. Moved you from tight end to wide receiver back to tight end, and now I don't know what position you're going to play, to be honest. But you can tell that he's talented.
Yes.
And that if he continues to work at football, he will be drafted. And so for Trey'Dez and for everybody involved, it's probably, buddy, look at the writing on the wall.
100%.
This is your future.
No, and I think next year he's football only.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's over right now. And maybe that's me because I was Trey'Dez and dreamed of playing basketball for LSU, and I wouldn't pack it up after, I wouldn't leave middle season. But to me, right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts that uniform back on and is a part of the program just to close out the year. just because if he wanted to be a part of the team that bad, I think he finishes it out with them, and then after that, then what happens during the offseason. But, it's not like he's really going to be missing out on much spring things anyways by being a part of the basketball team, because they're not going to do much in March. And spring football starts on March 8th, and basketball season will basically be over by that point. So should be a relatively easy, smooth transition time-wise back into football. But that's just – and it's one of the things where who knows what's going to happen. It could be one or other. Zavion says, I disagree. Next year he may feel he has it figured out. Alphas will be stubborn in their view of success. No, I agree. I understand that standpoint. I just think at that point it would be more of just kind of the money situation of, okay, NFL is definitely on the table. NBA, just from looking at it from a real standpoint, I think Trey'Dez has a good team of people around him, whether it's family, friends, things like that are there for his best interest, and his best interest at that point would be to stick to football, just because of the long-term success that it can bring compared to basketball. So I don't disagree with you, Zavion, in that that mindset can be, no, I know how to handle it now and be successful. I get that. But I do think there is a part of just being a realist and understanding that, hey, long-term wise, football will get me what I need for the future. Ivo in the Culotta chat says, this basketball team stinks and not worth risking getting injured before football starts again. I agree. And even if he comes back to basketball, I'm not saying that he's really going to get on the court, that he's going to be, getting these minutes and doing all that. Just being a part of the team that he committed to prior, finishing out, seeing that through into as far as they go, which I don't imagine will be very far in the conference tournament, and then getting back to football. That's where I see it going. Just being a part of the team that you signed up for earlier and really wanted to be in it. That's to me the situation. More than it is, okay, they've made the decision, he's sticking to football, we'll step away from basketball, academic reasons, he's football only now. Yes, I think that's very likely, but I still see it as a kid who loves LSU basketball and wants to make it work. And so Matt McMahon says they're going to try to see if he can come back at a later date. I think he probably does. So every day we are brought to you by PepFit. PepFit is, a new way of health. They came in here, gave us a shot in the arm, got us going. The lipo skinny shot that is still working wonders on Lloyd right now, getting him slimmed up over there as he purges everything out of his body. But we're going to be back after a break with Coach John Brady to talk about Matt McMahon and LSU basketball.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Click Here Digital, the home of the Jordy Culotta Show. Online at clickheredigital.com. If you're looking to set Google ads, set social media campaigns, learn about SEO, display video, or even creative, Click Here Digital has the answer for you. Online at clickheredigital.com or email me directly, Jordy at clickheredigital.com.
Family calls family. That saying resonates even more as your family grows. And we can't seem to stop growing. Meet the newest member of the Get Gordon family, Penny's cousin Rosie. Rosie already knows, the larger your family, the more people you have to lift you up during trying times. Just like at Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, we've grown to over 200 team members with over 50 local attorneys. So whether you pick Penny, employ Ellie, roll with Rosie, or get Gordon, we want to be your lawyers for life.
Your lawyers for life.
Phil's Oyster Bar, a staple of South Louisiana since 1945, located in Southdown Shopping Center and online at philsoysterbar.com. If you log online, you can learn about the private party schedule, the catering menu, and even order online. Daily lunch specials Monday through Friday. Learn about the history when Gus Piazza took it over in the early 70s, made it an absolute stop-in for everyone who came through Baton Rouge, and now Anthony, his son, carrying on the tradition. Phil's Oyster Bar, Southdown Shopping Center, and online, philsoysterbar.com.
It's rare to find someone you can count on when it's go time. It's even more rare to find someone you can count on, well, all the time. At Sunshine, we're proud to offer the John Deere equipment you need and the team can depend on and off the field. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
You ever seen a living legend? Just know that I'm it. Slow grind like IT, just know that I'm it. Now I'm back up in my bag, I'm giving them fits. Bounce the bat like John Morant, you know that I'm lit. Making plays like Jack Bash, I'm never gonna sit. Had to be patient, so I waited for the situation. Now that I'm focused, I'ma take it with no hesitation. The hard times that I hated gave me inspiration. Look in the eyes from my kids gave me
All right, welcome back here on a Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. As we get you prepared for some LSU baseball tonight against Southern, as the Tigers get back on the diamond after a successful weekend where they sweep and really just dominate Purdue-Fort Wayne, which was expected, but it was nice to see domination from the mound and what you did. When we compared the numbers yesterday, where LSU started the season against a lowly opponent last year as well, and they had 37 strikeouts and 22 walks. Fast forward to 2025, Purdue-Fort Wayne this past weekend, 45 strikeouts and two walks for the Tigers.
2 walks plays no matter who's in the box. It could be Helen Keller. It doesn't matter. Like
it could be
it doesn't.
Barry Bonds.
You don't have to be able to.
No.
Like it's just the fact that because walks are supposed to happen, but to only have 2 walks in a 3-game set's crazy. And also saw. Or was told, apparently we're pumping too much sunshine for LSU baseball.
Mm-hmm. Saw that in the comments yesterday.
Couldn't disagree more. But I get how that could be a sentiment, but I'm not the only one doing this. It
starts with Jay Johnson.
Yeah, and it's we talked to him yesterday, and he knows he's good. Like he knows that team that he put together is good and what they're capable of. It was just probably a little bit more valid. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated.
Right.
But I don't think this is also the same team that you had last year that could possibly lose to Southern. He said it himself. He goes, we weren't very good last year.
Right.
And now I feel like he's constructed a team in which it plays more to his style and his strength and what he wants to do when he sees a baseball team. And the pitching is the icing on the cake because you're loaded.
Right. No, I agree. And there's nobody that's going to be more critical of a team than their coach. Like at Central, we're a pretty good basketball program. Like we're number 1 in Division I non-select. We're 22-3 something. Pretty good basketball team. There's nobody more critical than the team than our head coach. There's nobody more critical of who the team is than the head coach. And so Jay Johnson likely would be the most critical out of anyone because he sees every little thing. He's around the program every day. He sees the work they put in, all of it. He knows all the shortcomings and the failures better than anyone else, and he's glowing every time he talks about this team. It's impossible to not pump sunshine when you see the head coach glow like that talking about his team, and then they go out this past weekend and perform like that. How else would you even do it? We're going to set up. Coach John Brady here just jumped into the chat. Lloyd, I'm going to grab some headphones real quick if you want to get it kind of up and rolling. I'm just going to snag these from this chair if you want to get it going.
Absolutely. Coach Brady, how we doing?
Doing good.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We just did a little basketball talk because you've kind of been in this situation before with having some football players that also wanted to play basketball. We were talking about the Trey'Dez situation, so we wanted to start you off and get your thoughts on that while we just because the man that has experience as a former LSU basketball coach, so I want to get your thoughts and kind of your read on the situation.
Well, that's very difficult to do, to play football and come out and, want to play basketball as well. We had Don Royal play a little bit, or, he didn't play a lot, but he came out one year when we were shorthanded and helped us a little bit. Didn't play a lot, but he did help us some. Trey'Dez, I thought was an outstanding athlete. I think he had a nice-looking shot. He played hard when he was there. It's hard to come out and have 2 or 3 days of intermediate practice and try to contribute to the team when everybody else has been there a while. But I think he was missing a lot of school, with the demands of football and the travel and that sort of thing, and then certainly basketball when you sometimes travel 2 nights a week and you miss some school. Maybe that was part of the decision that he needed to do that, and certainly he's very important to the football team, and I understand the whole idea about it. But while he was there, he had a good attitude. I was around him a little bit, and he's a tremendous athlete.
Right.
Got great hands, and I think they got him playing the right position at LSU in football for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, and basketball is his first love. I mean, you can see just how much he wanted to be a part of the team in that sport because of how much he loved basketball. And then, it kind of turned on to one of his teammates, Cam Carter, obviously, in these 2 SEC wins for LSU. I mean, it's 27 against Arkansas, 29 the other night against Oklahoma, where he kind of single-handedly willed them to victory at the end. What does he mean to this program outside of just putting up 25 plus?
Well, that's probably the biggest thing he means is being able to score every night. I agree with you. I've said it from the beginning. I thought the key to LSU was Cam having to score baskets and keep us from having lulls in scoring. And if you really look back at our team, the times that we have had 3, 4, 5 minute lulls in scoring, which has allowed the opponent to increase their lead. Cam has kept us from doing that, and he did that the other night, and particularly the last 5 or 6 minutes of the basketball game, and I think that the emphasis other teams have is to if Cam Carter does score 15 to 25 points, make it be a difficult 15 to 25, and then when he doesn't score double figures, as he has in a couple of games, LSU has really struggled to score some baskets. And it's ironic that the 2 SEC wins we've scored, I believe, 82 or 83 and 79 points. And as you alluded to, Cam has been our leading scorer with 29 and 27. So that right there tells you maybe how Cam goes offensively, the LSU team goes. And it was a timely win to have it to go to Oklahoma and get it. If we ever needed one, that was one to get it. And I thought that these last 3 games, or this game, the Arkansas game, the Oklahoma game, and South Carolina, if we could get 2 of the 3, it'd be really huge for this team to be able to accomplish that. And it looks like we have that opportunity with South Carolina coming in tonight.
Yes, sir. I mean, obviously, South Carolina is the one team that is below LSU in the league rankings currently, as they've struggled to find wins in conference play as well. What do you expect to see from the Gamecocks tonight as they take on the Tigers?
Well, I've seen them a little bit on TV. I have a different opinion sometimes when I'm able to see a team up close and personal. I like to get there early enough to watch them warm up and check their body language and that sort of thing, depending on where their team is in the conference race and what they have or have not done. So from what I observe on TV is the South Carolina team is still playing hard. I think that coach has got them competing. When you get in a rut like South Carolina is, and somewhat like LSU was, you have trouble closing games. And if you look at 6 or 7 of South Carolina's losses, they've been in 5-point games, but hadn't been able to win any of them.
Right.
And sometimes that happens when your team is in that sort of spin. But I expect South Carolina to play hard, but I also expect this LSU team to have its head up. And with what they did the other day on the road, I think they'll be excited about playing tonight. The thing I really don't like is 8 o'clock games. I think that hurts the crowd a little bit. And so we'll see how that goes. But I think Coach McMahon and the staff has got the team competing. I think they're playing hard. I think they're doing some positive things. We gave away the Ole Miss game, as everybody knows, and that's been discussed by everybody. And, it's funny how everybody can coach, but nobody can play. And, that's always been a thing about coaching with me. Coaching is an easy job because everywhere I go, people talk about it, and they all can coach, but really they can't. But I think this coaching staff has got our team competing, and I'll be surprised if we don't win the game tonight.
Yeah, no, and that was my biggest thing to see in the game against Oklahoma, where you just saw the resilience and the desire to push through and find a way to win that basketball game. Regardless of if shots were falling, what was going on, they pushed through and they were resilient, which is a testament to Matt McMahon and his staff.
Yeah, that's a good quality, and they plenty of excuses and reasons to not compete and not play.
Right.
But they've kept playing, they've kept competing. And so, I think it's going to show up. This game is huge tonight for LSU to be able to get, because what lies ahead is pretty difficult. You got Florida coming in here, and then you have Tennessee, two of the best teams, not only in the SEC, but in the entire country. So a win tonight would really be good for this team to be able to accomplish.
Definitely. And obviously the news yesterday that LSU is going to stick with Matt McMahon and support some more in the financial realm when it comes to NIL and things like that. I want to start with this freshman class that he has right now on campus with Givens and Robert Miller, Victorious Miller, and guys like that, where they've been such integral pieces to the success so far this season, where they're playing pretty high minute totals game in and game out. What have you seen from that freshman class?
Well, I think Robert Miller has improved. The last several games he's gotten more minutes, and he had a really nice game at Arkansas, and I think he's got a chance to be a good player. Victorious Miller, I think, has a chance to be a really good player. And Givens, his issue is he needs to improve his shooting, in my opinion, particularly from the three-point range, but he's a solid player. I think of the three, certainly Victorious Miller and Robert Miller, I think, are better, will become better players. The issue is, which you didn't really have to worry about when I was coaching, is are they going to stay? Are they going to test the waters in terms of transferring and NIL money? Are they going to stay at LSU? I think Robert Miller will. I'm not sure how the season ends for Victorious Miller will probably determine what he does. So those are factors that enter into this recruiting situation, and players staying and transferring is, what happens when you put yourself on the market, so to speak,
right,
and entertain the idea of transferring and see what's out there for a young man. And that's really, it's really a sad state to me in college basketball. That's what we're talking about now. Do we have enough money to pay players to have a good team? And if that's the bottom line, then I think there's really something missing in what college athletics should be about. But that's the nature of the beast that these coaches are dealing with now. But I don't want because we don't have enough money, and we're gonna never have the money in basketball that maybe some of these other teams did. We never had the facilities in the past. We never had the solid fan attendance in the past as some other teams have, but we still found a way to put a championship team together. So I don't want to put the narrative out there that because we don't have enough money, that's an excuse not to win. I think there are other things you can do and hopefully can do. But if we could get close in our NIL and get better at it, which we're going to do, it seems, I think that will help. But the narrative of, well, we don't have what they have, so we can't win games, I don't want to put that out there as an excuse not to be competitive.
No, 100%. And I think McMahon has done an excellent job at keeping his team competitive and kind of drowning out all that noise that kind of floats around, the program. As a coach, how difficult is it? I know it's different now in this day and age to kind of drown out a lot of that noise that kind of floats around you as the coach and your program and your players, when day in and day out, when it can be so negative.
Well, that's a good point. I think even when we were there and we had some good teams, and the popularity that you get from that, particularly the players.
Right.
they really have to understand you have to do the best you can every day and take, if you buy a new car and you really like your new car, you keep it shiny, you keep it clean. And if you have a good team and you're winning games, you need to do everything you can to keep it shiny and keep it clean by still going to work every day and realize it can leave as easy as you got it. You have to take care of it and every single day, that winning approach. I just don't know where this narrative came from. I wonder who said we're keeping Matt McMahon. I don't know. I know a writer wrote it, and was it released by the school or who was released by? Who verified that that's what the school is doing? And I'm sure they're going to do it. I hadn't heard anything else from people that I know that any change was going to be made anyway. But I do think, and I said this last week, when all this noise was happening, as you referred to, and people writing stuff in the paper and opinions that come out with social media, I thought the school, if they weren't going to make a change, needed to make a statement for Matt McMahon and his staff. Because if you want to help recruiting, you need to stop the negativity by saying he's our coach. We've talked to Matt. We know what we need to do. He knows what we need to do. We're going to stick with our coach and improve his NIL situation. I think they should have done that more quickly than they did. And if you're going to calm down the noise, you have to work from it can noise and stop all the speculation, because at the end of the day, that negativity does not help recruiting at all. And it gives other schools reasons why to tell a recruit they shouldn't come to LSU because that situation is unstable.
Yeah, how, in your experience, how often do things like that come up in recruiting discussions, whether it's between you and the recruit and they bring up, the negativity and the noise, or like you said, other schools and things like that? How often does that happen?
Every day. It happens all the time. Any coach, any recruiter, any angle or advantage they can get by the narrative that's out there in a negative way, they're going to use.
Right.
So I think it's important right now for Coach McMahon and his staff, for everybody to understand he's going to be back next year. Don't criticize the program, because you're hurting the team that you say you love when you do that. So you need to stop that, work with what we have, improve what we have, because it seems to me the administration has says Coach McMahon coming back, his staff's trying to do, and make it a positive situation.
What have you seen specifically over these last 3 games where you've seen LSU, or at least these last 2 games with Arkansas, the win over Oklahoma, where you've seen them kind of clean up some of these turnover problems? Against Oklahoma, I think they finished with 9 when, most of the SEC games earlier in the season, they were floating around 15, 16, 17 turnovers a game. What have you seen from a coaching standpoint where they've kind of cleaned those things up?
Well, that's exactly the biggest thing they've done the last 4 games. They've had like 12, 10, 9, and 9 turnovers in the last 4 games. And even against Ole Miss, we took care of the ball. The second half, I think we had 9 or 10 turnovers and wound up with 12, maybe. Only had 2 the first half. But the ability to take care of the ball has been better. And I think our guards have gotten better in their decision-making. And certainly that comes from structuring a practice where they're in those situations and they can improve by what you structure in the practice to make that better. But I think turnovers that lead to easy baskets, LSU has improved that in the last 3 or 4 games. Certainly they need to do that at home tonight against South Carolina. I think our rebounding has gotten better. We never were a great rebounding team, but we did do a nice job on the board against Oklahoma. But Oklahoma was a poor rebounding team when you look at their stats. Oklahoma team, I didn't think they defended very well. I didn't think they rebounded very well going into that game, and it certainly showed up in the numbers they gave us in terms of point total and in the rebounding stat. And South Carolina's along those same lines, and I think if we continue to take care of the basketball and rebound it, not have live ball turnovers that lead to easy baskets and make teams beat us in the half court, like we were able to get Oklahoma in a half-court execution game, then I think we can beat this team tonight, South Carolina.
And then, looking at South Carolina tonight, obviously they're going to have a game plan for Cam Carter, like we said, where LSU kind of goes as Cam goes, where they're going to win the game if Cam scores 27, 29. What do you foresee South Carolina to kind of do game plan-wise to try to take Cam out of the picture?
Well, I think they'll go back and see when Cam did struggle, Georgia and some teams like that. I think I always used to go back and see when their best players struggled. What did the team do from a scheme standpoint to keep their best player from beating us? And I thought we did a nice job on Oklahoma's top 2 scores the other day. They both scored double figures, but it was a tough double figure scoring. They shot under their percentage. They turned the ball over a little bit, and LSU did a good job there. So I think South Carolina will double Cam on ball screens, and I was glad to see the last couple of games, which Chris Blair and I talked about. Instead of Cam coming off ball screens when they can attack him with a double team, have him coming off weak side ball screens as opposed to coming off direct ball screens. Right. And I think they did a better job of that, of getting him open without the ball being in his hands. And I think that's going to carry over into the game tonight. But South Carolina will try to make it tough for Cam. I think another caveat that the last couple of games, Damian Collins has really played well, yes. And I thought he had his best game at Oklahoma, even though he hurt his shoulder again, but he got back in the game and played, but he's become more aggressive on the offensive end, and I think that's helped LSU offensively as well.
And last one here, Coach, we saw against Oklahoma, LSU went with more of a guard-heavy type of scheme because of, Corey Chest being out, the Trey'Dez Green situation, Derek Fountain not really being in the mix, where they had 4 guards and Collins starting the game, and they closed the game out after Collins fouled out with, all 5 guards, where they just went full small ball. Is that something you think you will see more of, or was it just kind of the situation at hand?
Well, I think the situation at hand, that's something they needed to do, foul trouble and that sort of thing, and injury and sickness on that team in Oklahoma. I've always liked us with 4 small players and 1 post. The other day we went with 5 perimeters, and what it did for us late in the game was spread the floor a little bit more. We were able to drive the ball to the goal. There was no postman sitting there on the block. I think it created some driving opportunities. I think it created some opportunities to drive and create rotations in the defense where you could kick it out for a in-rhythm 3-pointer as opposed to a manufactured 3-pointer. So I thought LSU did a nice thing in terms of spreading the floor. We got to the foul line the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game, and I think that was a result of going small and spreading the floor and having more driving opportunities to the goal in order to get fouled.
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate you and hope for a great call tonight as LSU takes on South Carolina. We appreciate your time this morning and all of your insight.
Anytime, guys. Thank you much.
Yes, sir. You have a good one. There's Coach John Brady. Great stuff. Outstanding. I mean, just the insight, the thought process, and obviously, he got a little fired up there. It wasn't the John Brady of old fired up, but
no, I don't think he can do that anymore. I don't think that would be good for his health.
No, definitely not.
No, so
definitely not.
I think that him being still involved in the game, being able to call it on the radio and have the insight is what's great for what's great for us, but also it's been good for his mental health.
Yes.
Because I feel like there was at times where John Brady was as fiery of a coach as anybody, but now seeing him have this perspective on it probably feels good in his own right. But
yes,
I would imagine that this, it's interesting to hear his take on how he feels about the reports on coaches' jobs.
Right.
Because he's been in that spot before where it's who's saying that?
Yeah.
Where you feel like you're getting reports on things, you're I haven't heard that. I didn't even know my job was in question. And so for him to have that kind of bring that perspective to it, that was interesting. But it does raise questions of how it's just funny to see how we're in the media, whenever Shea Dixon puts that out,
right,
it's validated.
Yes,
and he's got multiple sources that it's backing, but it's just funny to see John Brady be just a coach think about reports in the media and the narratives where he's I don't know. It's just fun. It's funny to see how he deals with that still.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because when you're thinking about it from that perspective, I mean, that's a tough thing to handle. If you're Matt McMahon, being like, well, I didn't realize. No, obviously he understood the pressure.
Right.
He didn't know discussions were happening. LSU never came out and said anything. And I do agree with Coach that, like, it probably would have been nice if you were McMahon to see LSU kind of step up and say it themselves.
Squish it.
And just kind of squish it right there. And because, I mean, you saw John Brady's face, with Coach Brady's face when I said, that's about recruiting. Like, how often does that come up? And he's like, every time. Like, every single time you sit down with a player, they're going to bring up, well, are you going to be there next year? Are you going to get fired? It seems like there's so much negativity around your program that I don't know if I want my son to sign up for 4 years with your program if you're only going to be there for 1 and maybe not finish. And this.
Not only that, it's the negative recruiting by other coaches that say,
right.
"Oh,
why would you go there?"
Yeah, Coach X is talking. He's like, he ain't going to be there next year, so he's trying to recruit to save his job, and he might not have one next year. I'm stable wherever I am.
Sticking.
Like, I'll be here, and so it's the negative recruiting part, and obviously. I like John Brady's take on NIL is interesting because if he were coaching, I think he would probably view it a little differently.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
He's still got the old school coach mentality of like, I don't need to pay players to do, like, I just want them to play for the love of the game, the scholarship.
Yep.
But
he would be a monster in NIL.
But if he were the coach and he was getting the same backing that McMahon was with the reports of what that money situation looks like compared to everybody else, be like, of course I'm fucking losing.
Right.
Like help me, help you.
Right.
So that's just.
No, it is. They still got that old school where it's like. I
think he thinks it's bad for the sport, but it's just. I think you could have gotten there like in a different way, but it's ultimately that this is where you are right now, and so there's really no other way to play it other than to play it because it's not changing until a ruling comes out. There's no other way to do this thing other than to pump money into it, print it out. And pay players.
That is the method for success. And you're seeing it, like we said at the start of the show, there's a direct correlation. The 2 teams that have paid the least for their roster are the 2 worst teams in the league. The one in the SEC that's paid the most for their roster is currently the number 1 team in the country and just took down was number 2 team in the country, Alabama. Instead, Alabama drops and Florida goes up. But the teams that are the best in the league are the ones that spend the most money. So, I mean, it's not as much, like Coach said, blaming the losses on the money. It's just kind of right now there's a direct correlation between success and failure and money spent. And that's just kind of the situation and where you're at. And you're seeing it in every sport. It's not just college basketball. I mean, like we said,
it's that tale of all this time in sports.
Right. Who won the national championship in football? Ohio State. They spent how much money?
Who was the one team that was being talked about the most in the
$20 million?
About they paid for a roster of $20 million. They wouldn't go get Caleb Downs out the transfer portal. The number 1 player in the portal probably.
Quinshon Judkins probably the number 2 player in the portal.
And so it was a conversation that Ohio State spent $20 million, and it was almost a talking point that was being laughed at of, are they really that good?
Right.
And it's like, oh, man, or Ryan Day, like your job's in jeopardy if you spent $20 million on a roster and you don't win. Well, he won a national championship in a world where he was struggling to get over the mountaintop. Still can't beat Michigan. But that $20 million roster, it turns out, was the best thing he could have done because they won the end of the day. They're the one holding up the trophy.
Yep. LSU baseball tonight versus Southern. Lloyd, who do you expect to see on the bump for the Tigers? I think that's kind of one of the biggest talking points after seeing Schmidt go on Sunday. It kind of shook everybody's brain of, well, who's going to pitch the midweek games?
And I'm only strictly going off the graphic they put out. And Cade Woods was on it.
Yep.
So that's one way to evaluate who's going to probably pitch. I do think that it's probably a world in which you see a bunch of guys. Like you could see Cade Woods go, you could see Jayden Newt go, Zach Cowan go. They might like divvy it up like that, but considering you have 2 games, like pretty soon.
Yeah,
back to back.
And then you still have a weekend series.
Right, and you have a weekend series. I don't know what the real approach is, but you could see if you want to see Gavin Guidry get a start.
That's what I was
if you want to see, like I said, Newt, or if they're going to do like and by association and have a couple of guys throw, but you do have to prepare for the weekend. But this is a great opportunity to get guys opportunities.
Right.
So
right.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see 3 or 4 guys throw today.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think this is a really good opportunity for Gavin Guidry. Like, just to kind of, if he wants to see how it goes, and this is something you want to test out if you're LSU, today or tomorrow would be an excellent opportunity.
Yeah, this is when you do it, because by the time you get to conference play, you're going to probably want him in the back end of the bullpen.
Right.
But when you saw the guys that you saw, Grant Fontenot, Maverick Rizzi, and the way that they're throwing it,
yes,
you might see them at the back end of the bullpen. Because as much as Gavin Guidry's a dog in the mentality and everything that you talk about you saw as a freshman, he ain't got 100 in the tank.
Right.
Those other guys do. That coming out the bullpen in the 9th inning plays a little bit differently than kind of 91, 93 with the good curveball.
Yeah.
And
no,
so
100%.
It'll be interesting to see what Gavin Guidry's role is moving forward. But I do think if he wants to have interest in being a starter, this might be the role that he gets. As if he wants to be a starter, to be a midweek starter.
Yeah, and this is a golden opportunity to figure those things out.
Yeah.
Like, as you saw plenty of arms this week. You saw 12 guys go and ball out on the mound for LSU this past weekend. This is a good opportunity to kind of see what else there is, because I think Schmidt's name is going to obviously pop up around starting type outings. This is a good opportunity for a guy like Gavin Guidry to see, exactly where he stands, what his role is going to be, because that's something you want ironed out before you get to league play. You don't want, all this back and forth and where is he a starter? Is he a reliever? Is he a closer? Is he that? Do you play him here? Do you do that? You don't want any of that happening when you're playing the top 5 teams in the country, And so this is when those things get figured out. And obviously, Jay, there's no reason not to trust him to get those things handled. So I'm gonna, that's where my eye is going to be on LSU today against, as everyone in the chat, 2 p.m. this afternoon, as they take on Southern, and tomorrow as well when they face Nicholls, is okay, what guys does Jay put in what situations to kind of iron out what's going to happen later in the season? Because to me, that's what the excellent thing is about these back-to-back midweek games going into another weekend series, is picking and choosing situations to see where Jay wants to try guys out, where he trusts them, different things like that, where it's kind of playing the long game, essentially, of where do these guys fit with their role before we get to Texas A&M, Tennessee, Arkansas.
I don't know if there's a team in the country that needs it more than LSU baseball, to kind of get people playing time, see where they fit in, because you're as deep as anybody in the country. And LSU has the opportunity to play different roles, different guys in different spots, and not have to worry about the wear and tear of a season, or looking back at this, be like, oh, you played too many games in too many days. Like, no, you got guys that can do it.
Yes.
And you got enough guys to do it. So I'm interested to see what lineup they put out today. Like, does Larson get a start? Because he didn't start on Friday. He didn't get the opening day start, but then he became too good to ignore. It's a whole different way to, kind of figure out who your guys are. And the only way to do that is to give them opportunities, and there's no real threat, it feels like, of losing.
Right, and that's why, to me, that's why this was scheduled. Yeah. To go series, back-to-back series, where there's just one day, kind of sprinkled in between to take a break, was because you have such a deep roster and so many guys that can do so many different things. How do you figure it out? You play 8 games in 10 days. That's pretty simple enough. You play 8 games in 10 days. You give everybody opportunity, see where they fit, see who does well where. And I think this is a stretch that Jay will probably look back at later on in the season and realize that he learned a lot about his team in this 10-day window, whether it's arms or guys in the outfield or bats,
Yeah, each opportunity, each game is a chance to kind of continue to whittle away at what you want your roster to look like and what you want your starters to be. Yeah. That's really the only way to figure it out. You can practice as much as you want, but Jay has a tough task at hand to be able to figure out which lineup is the best and when to do it. So the more situations you can put guys in, the more times you can see lefty-righty matchups. All of these things are important.
Yeah, and this is going to be big for the future of this program this season. So.
I mean, I know people are going to lose their shit if they lose a midweek game and all of that, but I think it's more about opportunity and how this can impact what you do going forward. I doubt that you look back at a midweek loss versus Southern and go, "Oh God, this is how I knew they weren't good."
Right. I mean, it would be like, in the 2023 season, a midweek loss where Riley Cooper gets extended innings or Nate Ackenhausen gets extended innings. Well, then you look up in the College World Series in Omaha, and you're like, well, I'm glad Ackenhausen went extra innings in that midweek game.
He could throw 5 innings.
Because now you need him against Tennessee to will you back into a game with Wake Forest. These are big-time opportunities for guys to continue to move on. So all eyes will be on LSU today at 2 p.m. as they take on Southern. And then tonight, LSU men's basketball versus South Carolina as they look to go back-to-back wins in league play, and they have a real opportunity to do so. And like Coach Brady said, he expects them to do that. But we're gonna end a little early over here. My guy behind the keys.
This is my fault, guys. I'm
struggling.
I'm struggling.
And have Lloyd in your prayers as he continues to fight whatever he's fighting over there. But we're gonna be back tomorrow morning with more of the Jordy Culotta Show 7 to 9. Remember, we are going live right now on both NewOrleans.football and the Jordy Culotta Show channel, but at the end of the month, it will all be originating on the Jordy Culotta Show YouTube channel. Clips are still being put out there daily, but make sure you understand the 7 to 9 daily show will be live from the Culotta Show channel next month, starting in March. March 1, the week before spring football, so you want to make sure you're prepared to get our spring football coverage live over on that channel. So we'll be back tomorrow morning. Appreciate you guys. And, enjoy some baseball.
Hey, Gino, got my headphones up, bro. You right there. Big step, but we can never put on the same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose. I grind hard and I can't lose. I'm stacking days, man, I can't lose. Big step, but we can never put on the same shoes.